Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to see your eyes. Was hoping that, by now we'd be out of this pandemic, right? It's still going on, and looks like our numbers are improving a little bit, but hopefully they'll continue to go down. And we'll stop seeing as many deaths and impacts from this virus. But again, happy to see everyone today. With that, we'll go ahead and call our meeting to order and follow on our agenda. I believe everyone has their packet. I would ask if there are any adjustments to tonight's agenda briefing. Okay. If not, I'll accept the motion to adopt our agenda for this evening as presented.
I'll make that motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion is made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is made. Receive the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. We'll go into general business and start with council. Any discussions? I'll start with Mr. Now.
Mr. Mayor, I have nothing at this point, please.
Thank you.
I just have a couple of things. The charter committee has been meeting, Sally, myself, and the mayor, our town manager, and our attorney. And we have two ethics policies, one for the council, one for the other boards, and the town charter revision is ready to come back to council. Greg maybe mentioned what the process would be now.
Awesome. First of all, great work. Appreciate you all taking the time to engage in that process, and we'll start to go through that process of approving that.
Mr. Mayor, on the charter part, you're not required to, but I would recommend that you publicize it and have an offer for public hearing, maybe at your November meeting. I think there's a chance somebody from General Assembly could say that they have a public hearing, and
Absolutely.
you want to have that box checked off, and then you can approve it, and then it can be submitted after that.
No opposition, Mr. White. Would we add that to our November meeting, and that'll give folks time enough to review it and provide any comment?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Hinkle?
Nothing at this time. I wanted to ask, Manager, we already got a heavy load for November.
Yes, sir, we do.
And, since this cannot be passed by the General Assembly for the 2022 section, can we not push that off to December?
Yeah.
I know we're probably gonna be here till midnight, but 1 a.m., that, we can avoid it without any undue harm. I would propose we do that.
Or even, do we foresee a heavy agenda in December?
It should not be. We may have some carryover. They will not start meeting in the General Assembly until February.
Right.
So worst case scenario, right now we can tentatively schedule for December, but if we see December's going to be busy, we can still postpone for a month to give us some lead time.
Absolutely.
So if that meets with everybody's approval, we can tentatively say December, and we still have a month to fall back on.
Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Okay.
Does that?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay. Ms. Williams?
Just a couple things. I'm gonna steal a little bit of the manager's thunder and welcome Chip to the town staff. And I've known Chip for a very long time. I'll just put it that way.
Is that a good thing or bad?
Oh, well, it's a good thing, good thing. I used to work, not right with his wife, but his wife is a physical education teacher with the Ira Statesville School. So I've known Sherry for quite a long time and everything. And Chip, and taught Trey and PE, so glad to have him here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'd like to thank all staff for going beyond their job around picking up the slack from other areas and just keeping everything rolling smooth for the town. I did notice some survey stakes on the South Iredell Greenway from the Fox driveway to about the mid-Whiting property, and was wondering what that was.
I honestly can't answer.
Okay, I thought maybe you might have the end know on it.
I do not know.
Okay. Also, the banners look really nice. Saw Public Works putting those up and they look nice. Just one little quick question about that. I think we decided double side, but then you came back with the price, and so are they still gonna be double side?
They are. Do you want to answer it, or
It's up to you. Well, I
have at it? Yep.
So, we started installing them today, they are double-sided. Mosca, me and Emily spoke with them this afternoon. We put them up, and the new rods that hold the flags up double-sided were too long. They were 7.5 inches past the flag, so it was not a good look. So, we got on with Mosca Design, and they said that they did not trim the flags to our flag specs.
Oh.
So they're gonna send us updated flag poles. In the meantime, we just went on ahead, we already had some done, so we went ahead and just did one side now.
Okay.
We'll have to go back and change we're using the old brackets, the old poles for these, it still works. But when the new ones come in, we'll update it all to the double-sided, but, you know, it's just the normal way things happen around here, so.
But we told them to go ahead and send us the new ones, so we're not waiting on, you know, the transition of them, us sending that back. So we said, go ahead and send us the new ones. We went with what we had, like you said, and so I think the colors that you all picked out look great. I thought they stood out really nice.
Yeah, I think they look great.
Even with the halfway done project, I think they still look nice. But
And you know, and people might not even realize that there's supposed to be another flag up there
That's right.
because they've not been used to seeing two up there.
that's right. So,
And to also add to what Adam said, for the press's benefit and those that may be watching, when he says flag poles, we're not talking about the entire street lamp. We're talking about the actual poles that hold the flag.
Right.
So we're not getting new flag poles in town. We're getting the part that actually holds the banner itself. And that just for clarification purposes, he and I knew what he was talking about, but we wanted everybody else to know the full depth of what he was saying.
Right, maybe bracket pole would have been better. Bracket pole.
I like the
Or-
first part
or
first,
the-
so you're.
Or the little
supposed to
pole
be
that
lined up.
holds the banner.
The little pole that holds the band, there you go, that's what we'll go with.
Yes, sir.
I understood.
Yes, sir.
That's at their cost, am I correct with that?
I'm sorry?
That's at the company's cost, not ours?
Yes,
Okay,
to
thank
make
you.
the corrections, yes. And Emily was quite frugal in telling them, hey, we're not waiting to ship back and then get the corrections. You come and handle this in person, don't use the mail. And their response was, yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Alan.
Yes.
She got it done for sure. I was like, what are we gonna do with this? She's like, I'll tell you what we're gonna do, X, Y, Z. Okay, got it. So it happened.
And the latest mural is taking shape. I think the best I can remember, it's almost finished. I did see the fish and the waders. I don't think there was a top part to the waders yet.
It's come along, and thank you very much for your comments. We had a citizen come by. I found the note on my floor. The fan blew it off my desk from one of the ladies up front. I brought it back to the office, but we've had a citizen stop by and leave a handwritten note that they had was waiting at one of the doctor's offices and looked up and saw it there, and that they very much appreciated that Mountain Dew mural being up there, and they had some other colorful comments that they left in that note, which I won't state publicly, but they were very much in support of the sign and how we are going forward and the job that we're doing as a staff, and it was nice.
And my last thing is enjoy your hunting trip.
Well, thank you.
Ms. Harris?
Hello, please forgive my tardiness. I had to deal with an emergency, so first time for everything. So, I just wanted to echo that I am so elated about excuse me, let me back up some. I wanted to say thank you to the staff for everything that you all are doing and for the hard work. You know, when we reread these reports, it's just so good to see how much work is going into our town. So thank you to all of the managers who are here, and thank you to your staff if you relay that message on. I just wanted to say too that when I relayed the information about that we talked about the last meeting at Tally Street, one of our citizens was just absolutely elated, you know, to hear that a project is going on that they've been waiting on forever. So again, thank you all for making things happen for the town. Also, I may or may not be here Thursday. I have some tournaments going on, so, and I just found out about them, so it's possible that I won't be here Thursday. That is all I have.
Thank you. I guess on my behalf, just reiterate some of the, I think was mentioned, you know, Sally's note, just to everyone on the staff, appreciate this continued follow-up and support as we fill positions. I know our managers taking the time to make sure that this room is full. At one point, I think we were down a few, and so the table's back full, and a lot of new positive faces here. So again, welcome. Not to steal any of your thunder, but again, I appreciate you taking the time to methodically fill these slots and make sure we've got qualified people to serve our town. And so, and I know they all have a servant heart, so appreciate your efforts to work with the staff and everybody filling in where we needed it. So I think that's, you know, extremely important. Again, the Tally Street project that Ms. Harris mentioned, again, that note was great for me to hear too. So again, appreciate all the efforts that gone into trying to make that happen. I think it's probably not been a year that I've been on council since 2013 that we haven't had a conversation about Tally Street project. And you know, we have a retreat and we talk about it. It's just great to see it finally moving forward. So again, appreciate the work that's going on that project. You know, lastly, I haven't seen the flag yet. Usually I'm coming up back roads from Salisbury, and so I look forward to getting out there and seeing it. And, but absolutely, I had a citizen mention to me the mural and how nice it looks. And so again, please let Mountain Dew and folks at Pepsi know that we appreciate their efforts and helping us to beautify our town. It's funny, I go to small towns around the state periodically, and I see some of them, and they don't look as good as ours. So, and I again appreciate the quality that they're putting into making sure we have those murals up. So, again, one of those projects we've talked about in retreat after retreat, and trying to make sure that those things come to life. So, again, appreciate all the work that's going into that. With that,
Well, Mr. Mayor, may I just say two things? In regard to the dew, I went out and bought 4 big bottles of Mountain Dew the other day at the local Food Line store.
thank you.
And in regards to our newer employees, from the oldest face in the room probably to the younger faces, I congratulate you too. I forgot that, and I want to piggyback on that and say I hope to see all of you here a long time, maybe even long after I'm gone. So thank you again, piggybacking on what the mayor said.
I do have one more thing that I overlooked in my note, and I apologize. I want to congratulate Emily on her new position. I'm sure she will do well at that job because it seems like whatever she does, it's done well.
Thank you.
Yeah. At some point, we're gonna have to get her like a title that's like, you know,
Yes.
it's already growing, I see. And so-
Kim had a fun time making that.
Yeah, I'm
That
sure,
was-
yeah.
Deserves a raise.
Awesome.
Thank you, sir.
With that, I'll turn it over to the manager for staff comments.
Before I get into introduction of a couple folks here. One of our officers who's not here with us this evening is Carrie Baker. We was unable to do it last year in the normal course of things that because of COVID, but he's got a flyer that we have posted out in the lobby. This is October. There's a couple things that we would like to bring attention to, as of course, as cancer awareness, and specifically, it started out many years ago as breast cancer awareness, and then it has grown to be cancer awareness in general, and a lot of football players are doing it. I know TYAA, one of our youth football leagues, has went and started doing their pink out, and we're appreciative of even our youth football leagues from the area doing that to bring awareness to a dreaded disease. But in addition to that, Sergeant Carrie Baker started a project a couple years ago. We like to give credit to our staff and employees when they do things that some people take for credit as being normal, part of their duties, but Carrie did something to where he used the students and faculty at his daytime job as an SRO at CATS, Career Academy Training School, and they of course have different programs over there where students are taught, and I apologize, I don't know the profession's name, but where the students are taught to do nails for fingers and toes, and then they basically bring some of these women from the battered women's shelter or my sister's house over and give them a spa treatment, so to speak, and then they are getting their hair done and things of that nature. So he has arranged for that to be done through the school again. In addition to that, we're having the town hall as a drop-off point to do a donation drive. Kerry not only uses town hall as a workplace to do it, but he uses the place where he resides as a drop-off point as well. But I won't go through the long list of the different normal household items that are needed, but there's also clothing that is needed as well. But we do have the list that's out there, but the normal hygiene items, of course, are needed, and then a few clothing items are also needed, and we appreciate Kerry for the job that he does and bringing such these women and some children the needed spa treatments, so to speak, for them to make them feel special. And we appreciate the job that our police do on a daily basis, but most of them do some form of a project, whatever it may be in different respects. But this is one that I wanted to mention this month's meeting that Sergeant Baker does in particular, that absolutely goes a long way in making some special folks feel more special. That being said, we've got several special folks on staff. One of them's new to us, and Sally had to go and talk about his family, but he told us during the interview, do not judge him based off of his son Trey, and sure enough, that's one that Sally wants to voice about is Trey. But Chip Smith I've known Chip since he was a child, and his dad hit him upside the head with a dirt clod and told him to get out from behind the horse or he wasn't going to live to see an adulthood. But Chip is in the Troutman area, and several of you all have said we can hire quality people from all over, but sometimes having one that is rooted in the Troutman area gives us a whole lot to brag about, and of course they know some of the history in Troutman, and that helps us as well. And during our interviews that the panel does, as you all on council knows, one of the hiring methods that I use is to use staff here in total, so that we use a panel of interviews interviewers so that the panel gets to choose who's gonna be a good team member when we make a hire. It's not just my decision. And once the interviews was over, the panel quickly decided that Chip, knowing the history of our community and some things, would be an asset to our Parks and Rec world, and the number one person that spoke out to, that was their recommendation, was the person that he would be replacing, and that was Emily Watson, and that goes a long way in saying who we all should look at collectively. So Chip is indeed married to Sherry. It's obvious who makes the decisions in the house, because she come up here telling us what his paperwork needs to be filled out as. So we knew we got a 2-for-1 when we hired him. But all jokes aside, we enjoy Chip being here. Chip, is there anything you'd like to say?
Just thank y'all for the opportunity, yeah.
But he's already come and worked on Saturdays and Sundays, woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, realized he had a piece of equipment outside and was wondering who was gonna be most upset, Emily or me. So he's already fitting in with the program. And that goes back to show that he cares. But he's got an issue with the interim police chief telling him he can't park equipment one place, and then somebody else went and parked equipment over there. So he wants to know how he gets to rate like that.
I like to say my introduction to Chip was the other day when Duck and I went out after the radio show, went out here by the ball fields, and we drove the Blazer out in between. Here he comes flying out there in that Kubota to find out who's on the ball field and throw us off of there. So that's my introduction to me. Protect this property out there. Then he realized who it was Boston.
There you go. I like it. Good job.
He's been hit the ground quick in a hurry. Him and Emily has been running around getting a lot of work done and accomplished already. Of course, as you all mentioned, the Tally Street project, I don't want to beat that into the ground, but I very much, as I pointed out in the email to you all, there was a couple things that went out with that project. It has took us many months in trying to get our website updated and up to speed. And I just wanted to point out for the public's knowledge that while Emily is still not satisfied on a professional level, or personally for that matter, with where our website is, there has been a lot of hours that she has put into it, and getting each one of our department heads up to speed and being contributors of what information goes on that website. As you all know, with my communications to you all as council, it has been a long effort. She's tuned up the people that our web hosting is through about different things that she needs and how timely she needs it through them. But once we have the website up and it's up to date, then we need that regular information so that the public feels more comfortable in going to that website and seeing that we are trying to be in better communications with them about what projects is there, and it'll be a better resource and a quicker resource so that they can go there to get information, so that they're not having to call town hall and or waiting for our monthly meetings to be updated on a lot of things, not just whether it be information from the Parks and Rec world, the police department world, public works world. Adam has already been utilizing it in a different positive method. Every department has. I don't want to just single one out. But even in the planning and zoning world, Andrew is handling it for Lynn over there, and it goes back to just this project on Tally and our Richardson Greenway extension, that once he got approval from the state that these projects were proceeding forward, within 24 hours of that notification, he put those contracts for bid out on our town website as well as the North Carolina website. So that lets our citizens know that it's in a couple places and that project is for real. It's no longer a pie in the sky dream. And because of the work Emily did in getting the website there, it also lets our citizens know, hey, the town is taking their concerns, as you said, Mayor Pro Tem, going back to 2013 is when those citizens over in the Tally area, and I can remember Ken Kenneth Reed, I believe it was, is the one that had to jump across a ditch to keep from getting run over in particular, to save his own life, first of all, was one of the first people that had to come to us and say, hey, somebody's gonna get killed if we don't do something. And it's a shame that we're 8 years down the road finally getting that project where it should be. But I'm tickled that we now have the staff in place that are doing something genuine to get that ball rolling. And I appreciate Andrew hitting the ground running as soon as he's gotten here to make sure that his expertise and contacts in the DOT world got the project back on steps. And I want to say, using Mayor Pro Tem, yours and the mayor's exact comments, was we're no longer getting excuses and kicking the can down the road. We're getting results and actions from staff members, and I appreciate Andrew, Lynn, and Emily, and this project come together so that we can show the citizens that it's going somewhere now. Also with Justin, we've got a couple projects going on now that he's been here. He went and took his test for CPA. He seems to be all excited about that. Some reason that had tied to do with some kind of incentive about a pay increase or something. But Justin is here with us. He's got his test took out of the way, but he's waiting till tonight. Something about 10 p.m. is when the results come out about his testing results, so that he can hopefully come in tomorrow. I told him I'd be out of town, so that didn't come to, we'll wait till next week to see what those results were. But Justin's also hit the ground running since he's been here with us, and I just want to say once again before you all that we appreciate his efforts in getting some I's dotted and T's crossed with us, so that projects like this, as we go forward, we're in communications with the state to make sure that once these contracts are approved and that the funding will be there, because we know that a lot of it is town has to pay up front, then apply for the reimbursement on the back end. Andrew's already been in communications, as Lynn has, on a project like that. So we're appreciative of that part. And I say that as we welcome all the new people, but I'm surely not trying to look over our existing staff that has been here. As you all have said before, they have worked with a lot of different managers and a lot of different management styles, and they have been here for the long haul to make sure that our staff and our town has maintained what it was. And we definitely are moving forward and are getting some things accomplished. I would like to thank all the department directors that have been putting in the extra time and work. As you all pointed out today, we have definitely had some staffing changes and have had some shortcomings with some things that I really can't go into specifics because of the HR rules with medical things, but all the departments here have had to step up, each one of them, and I'm very appreciative of what they have had to do. COVID has took its toll on every department here and the staff as a whole. I'm appreciative that we have come as far as we have in a short time. We have had staff displaced that have had to fill in gaps rather for other departments while the process is going on. I'm appreciative of that. It seems like whack-a-mole, I think, is one of the terminologies that Danielle, Upright, and Emily, I have heard them use. As soon as we get one of them little critters smacked down, two more pop up somewhere else. And that absolutely seems like that has been the case. But I'm appreciative of all staff. It seems like at times I may be on Public Works, for example, more so this week. Next week it may be the police department. The following week it may be admin, but as we get things done, they have all responded very well, and I'm appreciative of that. That being said, the next thing is, if you're ready, Mr. Mayor, I'll go with the overview of our upcoming agenda items to be presented.
Oh, we got one more Christmas parade.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, sir, I apologize. We have a lot of people that seem to say that because of the COVID numbers, and they have, as you all have seen the reports that I have forwarded to you from Jane Henson, our numbers have come down fairly well in the last 2 weeks. They have been on a steady decline. I have went ahead and spoke to Chip from the Parks and Rec world and told him if he was comfortable enough to go ahead and start scheduling events in the park again as far as reservations and rentals goes, and the pavilions and the depot. And my understanding, you have started those again, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I have also spoke with Emily with major events, as she has contacts throughout the rest of the region. It appears that most places are going with other events and continuing on. The Iredell County Fairgrounds County is planning on renting the fairgrounds for the horse sale and show and Thanksgiving weekend. So to our knowledge, that is still continuing and on board. We have not received the paperwork just as of yet from the Beaches, but we anticipate that to be coming. I have spoke with one of the county commissioners who inquired about it also, but that's not a requirement as of yet, but we would like for that to be handled soon. All that being said, it is recommendation of the staff and myself to you all, if you would be so kind to see fit that we have permission to go ahead and proceed with our Christmas parade activities.
Any questions or comments on the parade?
I think it would be great if we can do it.
Feel like based on, I think your comment that there are other outdoor venues that are occurring, that, you know, we continue to ask people, as we did earlier in the year, just to, you know, maintain their, you know, still the space and precautions on themselves, but I think it'd be great for us to move forward. So.
Well, I'm thinking, I read a statistic today, and I hope I'm getting this right, that we are finally at below, per day, 100,000 new cases, I think, that's what I'm saying. Fauci's wanting to getting down to 10,000, which, you know, is practically, would mean non-existent anymore, a pandemic. Or, but again, based on those numbers, and by December, the way things are going, I would feel great to go ahead and have it this year and let everybody enjoy Christmas in a normal environment.
I think also that, I know we're not talking about it, but I think there was a statement by the CDC that said that trick-or-treating was okay, and so especially for those folks who are, you know, fully vaccinated, it shouldn't be a problem. Again, it's primarily outdoors, so again, with that, I think, you know, we're talking about even later than end of the month, so.
Do you need a motion?
I'm sure he would appreciate it.
I'll make a motion that we proceed with plans produced and have the annual Christmas parade.
Motion's on the floor to proceed with the parade, Christmas parade. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, proceed the second. Any other question or comment? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Please move forward with it.
Thank you.
Agenda? Yeah.
Thursday night, our regular agenda, we have consent agenda will be the minutes from September, annexation request from TPA. That will be Douglas property, Murdoch property, and you will see all the rest of those listed. Item number 5, annexation request of Wagner Street property. which is currently owned by Edmiston's Mary Talbert. Also, resolution directing the clerk to investigate a petition, approve a certificate of sufficiency, and C, adoption of resolution fixing date of public hearing. Number 6, annexation request, non-contiguous Rocky Creek applicant. That's Adelaide Horton and others property, which is 53 acres, which is just below the town on Highway 21 on the right. That will be basically across from where the TPA property was. Number 6, annexation request, non-contiguous, I'm sorry, I just read that. Number 7, approval of resolution 2721, titled resolution approving finance terms. It reminds me I need to speak to you about that just momentarily. Number 8, approval of amendment to the Town of Troutman, Iredell County and Children's Hope Alliance wastewater agreement. That's just simply what it states. It's in your packet. We've already had an agreement, but there's an amendment due to some terms. Number 9, budget amendments. First one's Falls Cove water line extension. That's simply an upgrade to a water line that's there, which is basically an improvement to the line while the road is in its rough phase. It's the time to do it now while the road is roughed. This way the water line is improved and expanded currently, instead of waiting to do it years later when it's needed and then tearing up a perfectly good road and then having a patch in a road that's done later. So we made the decision, spoke with our engineers and Adam, and decided to go ahead and do the improvements of the water line at this time while it's in rough grade. That way the patch is now, and then when they come in and do the finished pavement, that will be covered up in a solid road, and this is in Falls Cove 2 area. That way we won't ever have to have a patch. The $233,000 is a transfer of utility fund to purchase capacity from Mooresville. That's just, quite frankly, a next phase. It should have been done or earmarked as we had proper notice in the spring that we were getting close. I'm not quite sure, as Justin and I spoke about it, why it was not in the budget already, because we knew it was going to occur this physical year. But it's there for a budget amendment so it can be appropriately marked, even though we had the funds in the reserves. Approval of design review board rules of procedure. Lynn and Andrew can tell you that was from their last DRB meeting. That's simple housekeeping procedures that they recommend that is more in line with how they would like to do business. And then number 11, approval of amendment to the Troutman schedule of fees. Again, that is housekeeping items that gets us more proper with our fee structure and schedule.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
What's that gallon amount, the extra capacity, or the second or third capacity we're buying from Mooresville? What is that, how many gallons is that? I'm trying to remember.
75,000 gallon increment, is that not correct?
I'm actually not sure on that.
I want to say 75, but that's the reason I'm asking. I'm not.
75,000 gallons. I will confirm that before I leave, but
That's in the back of my head, but I just want to confirm.
I would lose some pocket change if that's not correct.
Yeah, same
But
here, same here. If you don't mind, I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
did you not tell me, we should have, standing reports coming from, our fire chief in Mooresville and ABC board.
The ABC board, that's the first quarter report, is that right?
I think it's actually their second quarter report.
Okay.
Yeah, he came and did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so second
he
quarter,
came
I
and
wasn't
did.
sure if that was the end of the year. Okay, that's fine,
I think it's their second quarter.
all right.
Winecoff Village is on here, however, we do believe, Lynn, that it's gonna be a continuation request, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
12 and 13, both, we expect, just so you all know in advance, we think those will be continuation requests due to, how busy we are. They wanted them to actually be heard, or asked that they be heard at our November meeting, if they could be, but we have already told them not likely. So they have run into some issues there, and then they have asked that they could go ahead and be put on November, even though they asked for this continuation, but because of how busy we expect to be in November, just so you all know if it meets your approval, because of our schedule, Lynn and I spoke, and unless something changes with our schedule, we don't think that time frame wise, we can put them on the November schedule. If they demand it, we'll of course put it on there, but at this point, I don't think our schedule allows putting them on just for the simple amount of workload that we have for November. We have suggested that they be first request for December, and see how that is. To my knowledge, they have not responded to our suggestion, is that correct?
They acknowledge that they accepted.
Oh, okay.
They've accepted it, and yes.
Okay, thank you. New business, annexation request, non-contiguous property, which is Big Daddy and Nani, the 2.7 acres off of Lexus Drive, which is the Speedway store. To request a hold a public hearing and consider adoption of the ordinance. Also, number 15, request rezoning Project Speedway, Big Daddy and Nani LLC. Any questions on those two?
Big Daddy, is that, D. David Jones station?
Actually, I think you're right. I think it is.
Okay, thank you.
Number 16, request of rezoning applicant Superior Properties, 1 plus or minus acre, 600 feet with garden center, from highway business to town of Troutman highway business. This would be basically Howard Bryan is representing that property. They are coming forward to us for that request. Number 17, annexation request. Applicant project name The Meadows of Troutman LLC, 1.367 acres. Location off of Winecoff Street. Number 18, text amendment to the town's Troutman Unified Development Ordinance, digital billboards. That one is self-explanatory. I'm sorry, let me back up to number 17. Lynn, is there anything you would like to add to what that annexation request is for the Meadows off Troutman?
Yes, there's just a portion of the Meadows apartment project, when it was annexed and zoned, there were 2 acres that were left out of that annexation.
So they're just looking to bring those 2 acres into the town, just to clean up the property boundaries.
Okay, I didn't mean to skip that over, I apologize. Number 18 is the text amendment for the Unified Development Ordinance, digital billboards. You all have any questions about that one? Number 19, consider facade approval for accessory structures, North Main Street. That goes back to what we discussed last month, Councilman Now. This is in reference to those 2 aluminum structures that they have out front. This is what this is coming to forward here. Andrew, do you wish to elaborate on that at this time?
Just basically, unfortunately, when the new ordinance was adopted, there were no requirements for commercial accessory structures. It specifically lists requirements for residential accessory structures. When I started, we had an application from the gentleman that runs the business up there for those accessory structures. However, being they're non-residential, I felt it was wise to go through DRB and town council prior to approving that permit application. So that's what we'll hear on Thursday night.
Council have any questions about that?
I do. I
Yes.
did not actually look that up in our material. Does that also include any setbacks?
There is a 10-foot setback, so where those buildings sit currently, if it's approved, they will have to move that 10 feet off the side property line. Obviously, if council doesn't approve it, they will have to move those structures totally off the property.
Okay, thank you.
Andrew, so that I'm clear, we don't have current language around non-residential structures.
That's correct. And at the last DRB meeting, Lynn had the discussion. We've started that discussion with DRB so we can get something in our ordinance that we can start enforcing.
Members of DRB gave some suggestions, and Lynn took those suggestions and crunched them and come back later for some suggestions if it happens.
The old ordinance allowed that. The new ordinance does not. It is the simplified way of answering it. The old ordinance did not allow for metal structures to be there. The new ordinance does. One of the things the design review board then pointed out is look at our own structures right here beside town hall. Even though these are not in front of town hall, they still pointed out that how far do you want to go down that rabbit hole with such language? And again, it's very valid points based off of our old UDO to our new UDO, and where do we go with, where do you draw the line? There was at some point in time, our old UDO said no metal structures at all unless it was conforming to an existing metal structure that was there, and then only if council approved and it had certain criteria. Mayor Pro Tem can remind me, and I think even Councilman Harris can remember, if it matched certain buildings that was there, then it allowed on certain sides that it could be, but not necessarily a new metal structure entirely on the property. But our new UDO does not word that at all. And for whatever reason, when it was going through this process, that fact was not caught. Now that they're going through and we've had complaints, this is one of the areas that the planning department has identified. These structures by the new UDO technically were allowed had it followed the other rules. Did I explain that correct, Andrew?
That's right. And we do hope to remedy that oversight when this current ordinance was adopted.
And it's going to be a tightrope, as per the discussion the other day, because we don't want to be onerous to small businesses. We've had, a couple of examples. One we just had this last meeting that, they had a legitimate need, but the material is not going to match the main building. And it would be a gross burden on the business owner to try and build his structure that he needs, using that same material as the main building. So at the same time, though, we recognize that some people, from the road, see a metal building beside, you see a nice brick building, mention it, that it's kind of a, and I don't want to use the word eyesore, but it's kind of something that doesn't match, and, they would like to see something better looking. So we're trying to find that happy sweet spot medium between the two. And I'm glad you're doing it, not me, because that's, you're gonna please some people and some others are gonna still be upset. So, I'm waiting to see what, Lynn and Andrew, recommend, but that's the dilemma we're facing, trying to still be business friendly, but at the same time also recognize that, we're trying to achieve a certain level of aesthetics in town, especially from the roadway, when people drive by. So it's
So, when this business built these outlaying, steel sheds, there was no UDO in effect. So really, basically, he didn't know, and he just built them?
Well,
Or he did know and built them?
when the current owner put these sheds up, the UDO allowed for these sheds to be put up. But he's in violation of the setback rule. If there was violations, that would be the interpretation, the way I would see it now. Is that not the way you would see it, Andrew?
The way I look at it is non-residential structures are required to be approved by the DRB and the town council, and I show no records where he ever came forward with that.
So this business just built these sheds without getting prior approval from the town or the county? Am I correct with that statement?
That's correct, yes.
well,
No okay or approval,
Correct.
just built it.
well, you remember the discussion from, Mr. Ellis. He did receive approval
And
from an interim planner.
We're back to talking about Barium Lane and 21?
Yes, yes, sir.
Where's the,
But Mr.
Where's the
Ellis
approval?
doesn't own that property anymore.
right, he sold it to the current owners, and
No,
they
no.
put up the building.
Ellis is one that appeared before us.
But I don't think Mr. Ellis owned that. I don't think he owned that when those structures were put up there. I think the current owner put those structures up there.
Now, that's not.
I could be
well,
wrong.
Okay, maybe that's, when Mr. Ellis is here, he explained it better, but my understanding when he was here was that he, went before, or appeared before, one of our interims beforehand, and this was like last July or something, and received permission, told it was okay to do that, and he spent a considerable amount of money to put those there, and then, found out that that was not necessarily the case.
But Mr. Ellis, this past July?
Yes, yes.
No,
The meeting
No.
before, the meeting
this
before
guy
last.
has been up there since then.
The meeting before last. Now, you talking about Lineberg?
I'm talking about the current
Or
owner.
Dakota, not Lineberg, but Dakota?
Lineberger sold it to these people.
Or
Right.
Dakota,
Thinking-
yeah, Dakota did.
Right.
Dakota.
Right,
Dakota
and
did.
he did come this
Lineberger
summer
did not put
about
these
property
buildings
down
up,
there
these
on
new people
Eastway.
did.
Correct.
And is that not Chris Ellis?
Yeah, Lineberger did not put the buildings up.
Yeah, Ellis.
So the answer still is no
So,
approval
yes.
from the county or the town.
Correct.
Just built it.
Right.
Yeah, when again, evidently there's some confusion here because, let's let Mr. Ellis do the speaking, when he appears before us, but, there appears to be some confusion in what was stated at the DRB meeting before last, when he and, Mr. Dakota both were at the meeting and spoke. So,
Wouldn't we have a record of approval?
that may be just verbal. I don't know that he's got anything in writing, but he insisted it was verbal.
I don't think government does verbal
Yeah.
agreements.
But again, I think we'll have to hear it at
Yeah,
the
yeah.
meeting and
Well-
make a decision.
Once our code enforcement officer got involved, the way it has been explained to me was that once the code enforcement got involved and started sending out notices, then that's when we started going with what Andrew had just explained here. There was a process that was supposed to be followed, and then that's when it could have been interims. Somebody said, but then that's when the documentation was asked for and never presented, and then the notices got issued that you have until this amount of time to get in compliance and then that's when Andrew got hired and the process was told, this is the steps to go through. And it's my understanding that's when the property owner started saying, okay, what do I have to do? Let me do that, and he has been going through that process since that time. But prior to, with the interims, it was not getting addressed appropriately or properly, but the code enforcement officer was, once we made them aware these things were occurring, the property owner, once Andrew has gotten on staff as a full-time planner, the code enforcement officer turned over what he has been doing. The property owner has been trying to get in compliance with what's needed to be done. That's the best way I can answer the situation. Now, who told him what and how he tried to do what, I can't explain other than the process we're going through. But yes, to the mayor's point, we will now be going through that. That's what this is on.
But I would hope that if he got approval, that he would have the documentation.
We have not seen that, and that has been asked for previously. And that's why we're going through this process now.
Is it possible that we could also find out if he was approved by Iredell County to put those structures? Even though it's not our fight?
To answer that question, no. To my knowledge, no.
He didn't get approval?
To my knowledge, no.
Okay, so we're talking, he didn't get approval from Iredell County,
Uh,
he didn't get approval from
And
the
that was brought up and discussed, and I think there was some uncertainty if that was needed for those metal buildings or not, but that was brought up by one of the members of the DRB. And Andrew, correct me please, but I think the answer was no, he had not gone through building standards, Iredell County building standards.
You know, ultimately, from the time I started in July, we had a application for a permit for these two structures. But me going to the EDO, I would not sign off on those because it requires DRB and council approval. So I guess this is kind of an after the fact, and Mr. Ellis's conversation with the previous planning director, I wasn't part of, so, you know, I didn't want to get involved with.
No,
whatever was.
He took a great job planning this stuff out.
Yeah.
Right.
The one thing that I am upset about is the buildings were built before the approval was given, you know.
In general sense.
I can't go buy a car, okay, without having financing in place. I don't get to drive it off the lot.
Well, these are the type buildings like some people can go and buy or rent an outbuilding and have it delivered. These are the type structures that you can basically have delivered to your lot. They may build them on site, but these are not things that people would normally show up and we have others around town that are similar to where they're basically carports instead of a building per se. And that's what he purchased them for, was so that people can work or so that they can protect vehicles outside. And his initial discussions with a former interim planner was, there is no work outside, and it was just to protect certain vehicles from the elements, and that's the only reason he had them out there. But that does not change our UDO. What a person uses them for is not relevant to why the structures are there, and whether it's built on site or whether it's hauled in on a trailer is also not relevant as to why the structure's there. But we are, and it is on the report to go through this
Thursday night.
process, yes.
Yes, sir.
And it's up to, as Andrew said, it's up to you all to listen to those facts and decide, excuse me, whether you're going to allow one or both or none. That's up to you all to determine at your meeting. Any more questions on that?
Let me just say, just for clarity, because I may have been clear as mud here, I'm gonna see if I can get the minutes of that DRB meeting that I'm referring to, the one before the last, I don't think Hap was
You
able.
in September?
I believe so. Hap was not able to
Yeah,
be
he's
there.
got it.
Okay,
There.
the minutes, and read those over and confirm or whatever, what I said, if you
Okay.
would, please, and, just so you know what was discussed at the BRB meeting. That's, just information.
Number 20 is consider design review reappointments for terms expiring November 13th, 2021. Hap Williams is a 3-year term and Darrell Nance is a 3-year term. That's all I have.
All right, no other business, we'll, go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A4 to discuss economic development. What do we need in the room?
If it's okay with